What's up, everybody? Welcome to my review for The Last of Us 2. Of course, I am going to go ahead and give this warning up front that this is going to be a spoiler review. I may not give every single detail about the story. That's not what I plan to do. I'm not going to basically tell you the story. I want to focus on what I feel were the positives and the negatives and some things that I had mixed feelings about in terms of The Last of Us 2. But yeah, still, there are going to be some spoilers in the mix. So if you have not completed the game, I suggest that you wait until you have done so, until you check this video out. Or if you're just not very interested in the game and you want to check out my thoughts, you can go ahead and tune in here. But again, I want to say again, and we really stress this is going to be a review that will contain some spoilers. Now, the first thing I want to say about the game is graphically, it is absolutely amazing. It's definitely one of the best looking games I have ever seen. The only other game I could even put at this level, this high of a level is, the first Last of Us was definitely very impressive, but it is an older game now. Some things don't hold up quite as well as they used to, and I would say the most recent God of War is on this level for sure. That's a pretty impressive game. Uncharted 4 as well, which is also done by Naughty Dog, is highly impressive. But yeah, this has got to be, in terms of graphics, one of the top 5 best looking games of all time. It is absolutely amazing. The visuals alone make it worth checking out. And I'm really surprised because this is a lengthy game. And from beginning to end, literally from beginning to end, I was just constantly impressed by the graphics. Like the weather effects, the character animations, some of the events that take place, certain things that just stand out, like in terms of creature designs and effects within the environments, like fire, the way that fire looks. And there's so many subtle things as well. There's a lot of detail within the environment. I found myself a lot of times just kind of stopping and looking around and checking for all those little details, because I just kept thinking about how much work it must have taken, for these artists to put in to create this game. So yeah, visually it is absolutely amazing. Like I said, that alone is worth the price tag. I also do want to point out that there are some really intense encounters in the game, with different enemies. There are different factions within the game. And yeah, I think that overall, the combat does feel, I'm sort of getting into a negative here. The combat doesn't completely feel fresh, but I would say overall there are some interesting encounters, and the big encounters are kind of spaced out enough to where it doesn't take too long before you get to something that is highly impressive in terms of those encounters. And along with the encounters, I do have to say something that they've done more in this game that I really like, because they didn't really do this in the original Last of Us. They did do it in the Left Behind DLC, is to have moments where the AI is going up against each other, so you'll have moments where, for example, the Scars are going up against the Wolves, these different factions within the game. You'll have moments where the Infected are attacking other characters. So I really appreciate that they did that. I was hoping to see that, within the original Last of Us game, but I know that's very taxing in terms of the AI to get that done correctly. Like I said, they did it some in the the Left Behind DLC, but yeah, this time you do see that more often. I really did appreciate that. Another big highlight for me is the characters. Of course, Joel and Ellie are back, and Ellie goes through a lot in this game, a whole lot. It is very intense with her. But as far as the new characters are concerned, the one that I know is very divisive for some people is Abby. And I will say, and I know it's done intentionally within the game, but like a lot of other people, I was very thrown off when early on they have you play as Abby. And then, of course, what Abby does, as well. And remember, this is a spoiler review, so of course I will get into what Abby does. Controlling a character that does end up killing Joel is shocking. And I know that's done on purpose. But, I stuck with the game. I think some people are like, tuning out the game as soon as Joel is killed. And I think that's completely missing the point of what's going on here. And honestly, from what happened in the first game, I don't think anybody should be surprised. This is, and let me be clear, I really like Joel as a character. I love that character in a lot of ways. But he did things that were morally questionable. And even though he did them out of love, he killed a lot of innocent people, and he also took away the possibility of a vaccine. So is karma. It was bound to happen. I think personally, I don't think anybody should be surprised that he ended up being killed in this game. And I know it was rough to see. It definitely gave me vibes of seeing what happened in The Walking Dead season 7 episode 1. It definitely took me back to that. But like I said, I understand it. I mean, it's just like it was bound to happen, like I said. And Abby, being as you learn about the character, you realize that she does have a legit reason for revenge. But even within that, I think she showed a lot of restraint because she came specifically for Joel. They could have done a lot more damage. She came specifically for Joel, and she put years into preparing for that moment. And it's very clear, from her physique, which, by the way, a lot of people are pointing out like her physique and how she's shaped, and she's very muscular, very broad shouldered, big arms, and all of that. And that's even referenced throughout the game. Other people noticing like how built she is and everything. And I think some people are reacting to that in a very immature fashion. Now, if you're not attracted to that type of woman, that's fine. Of course, that's completely understandable. But for people just to focus on that and to make memes about that, to me, they're totally missing the point of what is going on with that character. She built herself up for years preparing for revenge. She really made herself into a weapon. And they got things so accurate with this character as well. Not just, the shape of her physique, for somebody that has been working out for that long, but even the way she moves as well. When I was first controlling her and I started running with her, it took me right back to my time when I was enlisted in the army, because I'm like, she moves like a soldier, especially when she's running. Like, she really moves like a soldier. So with the motion capture, they absolutely nailed that, and I appreciate that detail with that. And as things go along with the character, more and more I saw things from her point of view. I understood her point of view, and I actually grew to care about the character. And she is a good person in a lot of ways, but I do want to be clear, none of the characters in The Last of Us Part 1 or 2 are necessarily all the way good guys. All of them do things that are negative. They take lives, of course. They're in a very difficult situation. So it's not about good versus bad or good versus evil. It's really not about that at all. But when you look through Abby's eyes, I think it's understandable that she would want revenge, especially in, I kind of got an idea of who her father might be, before it actually was revealed, and I'm not surprised by that. And again, it's something that actually made me feel kind of scummy when I played the first game, because Joel takes a lot of lives, especially towards the end of the game, and you could say a lot of those lies are innocent lies and people trying to make a vaccine. And again, I know he did it out of love, but for a lot of people that makes him a villain, so I understood that. Yara and Lev really surprised me. I thought these characters were going to be very minor, but there is some real depth to those characters. And, especially with what's going on with Lev in the story, really kind of opened my eyes to how difficult that experience must be for somebody that feels like, that they weren't born under the right gender, basically, or something. It's something that people really deal with, and even in this post-apocalyptic type of time, that is something I guess would still be a concern there for some people, and something that they deal with emotionally. So I thought that was powerful. So yeah, Abby's interaction with Yara and Lev, I thought that was handled really well. I really did grow to like those characters as well. Definitely some tragic things that happened, along with those characters, but yeah, it added so much depth to the story. Now, some of the other people that Abby were friends with, that she interacted with, didn't really draw me in so much, necessarily, but I thought they served the story well, when it comes down to it. As far as, the new characters on Ellie's side who she interacted with, Jesse was a standout for me. I thought Jesse was handled really well. He's a very likable character, and likable from the very first scene. I watched a couple of gamers, reacting to the game and playing the game and everything, and it seemed like everybody grew to like Jesse pretty much early on. He is a very cool character. But, again, on that side, there were some characters that were just kind of, it's like they served the story, and I guess that was good enough. And I'll say some more about some characters here in a moment. As far as, the overall story, I like the risk that they took. I'm glad this wasn't just The Last of Us Part 1 reheated, basically. I didn't want that. So I really do appreciate that they put so much thought into the story, and there's a lot of depth there, and I actually look forward to playing it again. I'm probably going to give it a little while just because it is a really long game, and once I'm back in there, playing the game again, I'm got a feeling it's going to draw me into where I'm going to want to play for long sessions again. So yeah, I'm just going to give it some time before I get back into it. But yeah, it's a really awesome game overall. I enjoyed it. I like how some things from the first story came back, and including Ellie being afraid of ending up alone. That actually matters within this storyline. That plays into it, especially the way that things play out in the end. And Ellie was just so consumed by revenge. I think she really was blinded in the same way that Joel was blinded in the first game towards the end. She actually ended up being a lot like Joel. And again, these are still likable characters, but I think that is a flaw that they have in common, to where they get so consumed by their revenge and what they're trying to accomplish that they kind of neglect some other people, basically, and including people that they care about. So I think it's a character flaw that's very understandable, and I guess relatable, I will say. And I see this a lot in real life. There are a lot of people that get so consumed by things they don't like and people they don't like that they kind of overlook the things that they do care for and the people they do care for. Now, some things that I have some mixed feelings on. The length of the game I'm glad there's a lot of gameplay there, but I don't know, at times it did drag just a little bit. I do like going around and exploring, but some of that started to feel repetitive, especially on the normal setting. If you might want to, if you've played this, I'll say this, if you haven't played it and you plan on playing it, for one thing, I'm not sure why you're checking this out, because I am giving some spoilers, but I think you do have to increase the difficulty, because there's a lot of ammo and things in the environment, a lot of resources. You do run low at times, but I don't think you ever feel like you're in danger and that you don't have enough. So I think a lot of the searching is cool, but it does kind of stretch out the game, and when it comes down to it, some of it is just not really necessary, and I was looking for a lot of the collectibles, and I did like the comic cards. Those comic characters, some of them actually have some really interesting profiles. Almost makes me wonder if Naughty Dog wants to do something else with that idea, with those characters. But like I said, a lot of the searching in the environment stretches out the game and maybe isn't completely necessary. But overall, I was happy with the length, even though it does kind of feel like The Last of Us Part 2 and 3 in one game, because that's how long it is and that's how much happens in the game. And when you think the game is over, it's not, which I think, again, is understandable, because like I said, Ellie being so consumed by revenge, she basically had her happy ending, and she just she couldn't let things go, so I like the way that things played out, in the end. The AI, I do have to say, as far as the artificial intelligence is concerned, is spot on for the most part. I do like that the people that are along with you actually do help you out. They actually do serve a purpose. That was nice to see. AI, though, it can be a little frustrating at times. There are those rare occasions where the character that's along with you may get in your way, when you're trying to position yourself, like get through a door or hop over something, whatever, that can be a little bit frustrating, but it's not like a deal breaker for the game or anything, though. Now, I am going to get into some straight up negatives, some things that I just don't like about the game, because it's not flawless. I've seen some flawless scores, basically, some 10 out of 10s, 5 out of 5, whatever it may be. I couldn't give it a rating like that personally. I'm not going to necessarily give it a rating, but I am going to say that even though there's a lot of positives to the game, there are definitely some annoyances. One of them being this issue that they have with the audio. If you're not, like, when you're actually in the game, within the gameplay, and even with some minor cutscenes as well, if you're not positioned where you're looking directly at a character, like dead in their mouth, then sometimes you can't actually hear them. Like, I actually ended up playing with the subtitles on because I got so sick of not being able to hear the characters clearly. And this was an issue in the first game as well. And I've been watching some other people play the game, and I see them having the same issue. So it's not like there's some weird issue with my PS4 or something. No, it's just I wish Naughty Dog would find a way to work that out. I don't even feel like this is an issue that I've seen within Uncharted. At least I don't recall this being an issue in the Uncharted games. But for some reason in The Last of Us, like I said, when you're moving around environments, sometimes you just can't really hear the character that you're with, even if they're right next to you. They could be literally right next to you, but if you're not facing them, it's like the audio just is very murky, or like it's very tough to hear, or it may not even be there at all. So that is kind of frustrating. Also, because of the length of the story and the way that the story is played out, there are sometimes like these flashbacks within flashbacks, and also long stretches before they come back to a certain moment, because of course things are like, you know, played out of order. Like I said, there's a lot of flashbacks. So sometimes the story, you do have to kind of wait and kind of jog your memory and think, okay, yeah, this character did this or that or whatever. So yeah, it's just a little bit challenging at times to follow up. To keep along, I should say, with the story. Not a big issue, but something I did have to point out. Also, the technology has improved to where, you know, there's a lot more detail in the facial animations and everything, but sometimes the characters, I think, unintentionally look kind of goofy up close. Unfortunately, I mean, you know, Ellie being one of the main characters, there are some times where her expressions just look really goofy to me, and I don't think it's necessarily intentional. Yeah, it's odd, you know. Not a big deal breaker, but just something I had to point out. Yeah, I think some of the expressions are a little bit awkward. Also, you know, Naughty Dog really touted some changes to the gameplay, like you know, going prone and being able to jump and things like this, and dogs in the environment. I feel like these things had very minimal impact on the game overall. Even jumping, you know, usually it's contextual. You have to be like near a certain item for the jumping to really even matter. So it feels like they could have basically done things the same way they did in the first game, you know, to where it's like when you get to a ledge or whatever, it gives you that button prompt, you know, to jump across or whatever. So yeah, it really wasn't a big deal there. Going prone, again, you know, it's kind of a minor thing, not major. Dogs being in the environment, and you really don't see as many dogs as I thought you might see within this game, but I don't think dogs had a huge impact to it. And I know some people feel kind of odd about killing dogs, and I'm a dog lover myself. I have a dog, of course, but within the game, it wasn't a big deal to me. They were basically just another enemy, and of course you can be patient and sneak around, but I'll say this, for me personally, the way that I play, I just wanted to get enemies out of the way as quickly as possible and be on my way. I think trying to be stealthy in this game adds a lot more time to it, and I don't really know if it's even worth that effort, you know, necessarily. So overall with the gameplay, it didn't really feel fresh. I wish they would find some more ways to make the gameplay more interesting if they're going to follow up here, which I don't think they need to. You know, some people will say they didn't need to follow up with the first game, but I did enjoy this game overall, so I'm not going to say that this game shouldn't have been made, but I'm just saying if they do another one, I hope that they will find some way to make the gameplay more interesting, because even though I like some of the new weapons, again, really wasn't enough to set the gameplay apart from the first game. Also, there are some repetitive scenarios within this game. And Naughty Dog does this a lot. I see this in the Uncharted series as well, to where you jump out on a platform and something looks a little shaky, you're gonna fall. Like, it happens again and again and again. I feel like they do that way too much in these games. Also, you know, and again, this goes for the Uncharted series as well. Let's say you squeeze in between, you know, obstruction or whatever. 9 times out of 10, you know, somebody's going to be there to sock you or whatever, you know, surprise attack you. Again, that's just something that happens again and again. So there are some repetitive scenarios within the Last of Us series and also within the Uncharted series. You know, they do these things too often, and it becomes pretty predictable. Something else, another example, is if you drop down into an environment. Let's say you jump out of a window, you drop down into an environment, all of a sudden your character is ducking and acknowledging that there are enemies nearby. Again, it's just something that feels kind of repetitive, you know. And I gotta say as well, there's a lack of humor in the game. I could have used more humor for sure, because it's such a heavy game, and I don't mind. I don't want them to take out any of that emotion and any of that drama. I appreciate that, but I do wish there was just a little more levity within the game, you know, to kind of not even balance things out necessarily, but I think it's good to have that every once in a while. So yeah, there definitely wasn't enough humor, and even some of the humor that was there was just kind of you know, it wasn't anything too special. But you know, for all the gripes that I just had here, none of that stopped me from really enjoying the game. I really did enjoy it. I really would, you know, suggest that people give the game a try. If you're one of those individuals that got upset and stopped playing the game because, especially because Joel got killed early on and he got killed in a very brutal fashion, if that bothered you, I would say give the game another chance, pick it back up, play it all the way through, and I think you will see that like I said, the other main character, Abby, she's not like a complete villain. I don't think Naughty Dog disrespected Joel because, like I said, karma is real. Even within a video game, karma is real. I completely understand what they did with the story. I do miss Joel as a character, but we did get a lot of time with that character, so it is what it is when it comes down to it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much gonna wrap it up. Those are my thoughts on The Last of Us Part 2. Overall, like I said, I enjoyed the game. I was impressed by the visuals. I liked how in depth, the story went. And I look forward to playing it again. I will play it again on New Game Plus, probably on the normal setting. Then eventually I'll play it on hard. And yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it some more, and then also hopefully they will add in some multiplayer. I think they're supposed to eventually. I look forward to that as well because I really enjoy playing factions within the first Last of Us game. But yeah, overall, like I said, I'm not going to give it a specific rating, but I think this game is definitely worth checking out. And the graphics, especially being so impressive, I don't even know how the next generation could be as impressive as that, because even this game didn't really have there wasn't like load times and sitting around and all of that. It ran pretty smoothly from beginning to end. So yeah, it's going to be tough to top this game, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you all for checking out my review. Definitely let me know your thoughts about the game. If you're going to say any spoilers within the comments, that's up to you. That's fine. I'm letting it be known that this is a spoiler review, so feel free to say whatever you think about the game. And yeah, again, thank you all for checking this out, and I'll talk to you all again real soon.